Hello everyone. Today we will discuss on the topic General Exceptions under Indian Penal Code 1860, which is chapter 4 of the Indian Penal Code, and it covers sections 76 to 106. This is part 1 of the General Exception series. Let's go to the video now. General exceptions. So we will discuss the headings under which these exceptions are divided. First is mistakes of fact and mistake of law, section 76 and 79. Then Judicial Act, section 77 and 79. Then accident, section 80. Then necessity, section 81. Infancy, section 82 and 83. Insanity, section 84. Intoxication, 85 and 86. Next is consent, which is from sections 87 to 92. Then communication, section 93. Duress, section 94. Trifles, section 95. And private defenses, section 96 to 106, which we will discuss in next part of the video. Till now we will discuss till section 95. Let's see the meaning of exceptions or defenses. If any accused has committed a crime, so before giving punishment to such accused, courts give them a chance to prove their innocence, and this is called defenses. So chapter 4 of Indian Penal Code, it deals with the general exceptions to criminal liability. We will discuss sections 76 to 106, which do not amount to offenses. So let's start with the mistake of facts and mistake of law, that is section 76 and 79. Mistake are of two kinds, mistake of fact and mistake of law. There are maxims to these mistakes which defines the nature. So mistake of fact, section 76, is related to a maxim ignorantia facti excusat. It says that ignorance of fact can be an excuse. So it implies that if the mistake is done by reason of mistake of fact, then it can be an excuse. Now let's look on to example. A is a soldier. He fires on a mob by the order of a superior officer in conformity with the commands of law. So here A has committed no offense, as it is the order of superior under which he acted. Now A, an officer of court of justice, being ordered by that court to arrest Y. So after due inquiry, believing Z to be Y, उसने ये सोचा कि Z ही Y है, तो उसने Z को अरेस्ट कर लिया. तो A has committed no offense, क्योंकि यहाँ पे mistake of fact था, mistake of law नहीं था. So यहाँ पे A ने कोई भी offense commit नहीं. Now let's talk about mistake of law. Mistake of law is based on the maxim ignorantia juris non excusat. It means ignorance of law cannot be an excuse. For example, अगर A ट्रैवल कर रहा है 10 kgs ऑफ गोल्ड के साथ किसी ऐसी कंट्री में जहाँ पे 10 kgs ऑफ गोल्ड एक इलीगल क्वांटिटी है, सो वहाँ पे इग्नोरेंस ऑफ लॉ एक्सक्यूज़ नहीं हो सकता. A ने देखा कि Z कमिट कर रहा है कुछ ऐसी चीज़ जो A को लगा कि वो मर्डर है. A ने अपनी बेस्ट जजमेंट के हिसाब से उसको जो लगा कि मर्डर है, सो as we have the power which law gives to all the persons of apprehending murderers in the fact, he seizes Z in order to bring Z before the proper authorities. तो यहाँ पे A ने कोई ऑफेंस कमिट नहीं किया है, भले ही बाद में ये पता चले कि Z was acting under self defense. In these two scenarios, the common thing between these two is that mistake must be caused by ignorance or negligence and not caused due to pre-planning या pre-arrangement. So section 76 बोलता है कि person should be bound by law or by mistake of fact believes himself bound by law, and section 79 बोलता है person who by reason of mistake of fact does any act in good faith believing himself to be justified by law does not commits any offense. तो यहाँ पे हमारा ख़त्म होता है मिस्टेक ऑफ लॉ एंड मिस्टेक ऑफ फैक्ट. अब हम आगे बढ़ते हैं. जुडिशियल एक्ट्स, सेक्शन 77 एंड 78. सेक्शन 77 और 78 प्रोवाइड करते हैं इम्यूनिटीज़ टू द एक्ट ऑफ जजेस एंड पर्सन्स एक्टिंग ऑन द जजमेंट और ऑर्डर ऑफ द कोर्ट. So section 77 talks about act of judge when acting judicially. So the ingredients of this section are: judge must be acting judicially, act must be within his jurisdiction, and the act must be performed in good faith. So this section says that if any judge exceeds his authority or commits an act contrary to law, he will be liable for his acts. But if the judge is acting judicially and has made any decision which comes under his jurisdiction and has performed the act in good faith, he won't be liable for any offense. अब हम आते हैं सेक्शन 78 पे, विच इज़ एक्ट डन परसुइंग टू द जजमेंट और ऑर्डर ऑफ द कोर्ट. This section says that if any person is acting under the judgment or order of court which they believe is under jurisdiction of such court commits no offense. इसका मतलब ये है कि अगर कोई भी पर्सन कोई ऐसा एक्ट कर रहा है जो कि जजमेंट या कोर्ट का ऑर्डर है, तो फिर वो कोई भी ऑफेंस नहीं कर रहा है अगर उसको ये बिलीव होता है कि जुरिस्डिक्शन है इस कोर्ट का ये ऑर्डर या फिर जजमेंट पास करने के लिए, तो उसने कोई भी ऑफेंस नहीं किया है. अब हम आते हैं सेक्शन 80 पे, जो कि एक्सीडेंट के बारे में बात करता है. सो दिस सेक्शन स्पीक्स ऑफ एब्सेंस ऑफ मेंस रिया. मेंस रिया का मतलब होता है गिल्टी इंटेंट. बहुत सारे ऑफेंसेस होते हैं जहाँ पे गिल्टी इंटेंट ज़रूरी नहीं होता है, जैसे कि डिफेमेशन और सिडिशन. पर इस चैप्टर में हम डिफेंसेस पढ़ रहे हैं वेयर इन हम ये देखते हैं कि कहाँ पे हम नो गिल्टी इंटेंट प्लीड कर सकते हैं, जैसे कि एक्सीडेंट. एक्सीडेंट मीन्स समथिंग ऑकर्ड सडनली विच यू कैन नॉट एंटिसिपेट और एक्सेप्ट दैट सच इवेंट इज़ गोइंग टू टेक प्लेस. In other words, accident is an event one cannot foresee or accept. Essential ingredients of this section are: an act is done without any criminal intention or knowledge. It is a lawful act which is done by lawful manner and by lawful means with proper care and caution. Let's look on to an example. A is at work with a hatchet. The head flies off and kills a man who is standing by. Here द मैन एट वर्क डिड नॉट नो कि उसका हैचेट का हेड निकल करके किसी और इंसान को मार देगा. सो पूरा प्रॉपर केयर एंड कॉशन लेने के बाद भी दिस एक्ट इज़ एक्सक्यूजेबल एंड नॉट एन ऑफेंस बिकॉज ही डिड नॉट फोरसी दैट द हेड ऑफ द हैचेट विल फ्लाई ऑफ एंड किल अ मैन. सो दिस वॉज अ केस ऑफ एन एक्सीडेंट. Now let's talk about section 81, necessity. This section says that if a person is given two situations and that person has to choose any one of them and he chooses the least dangerous alternative, then he can use the defense of section 81, that is necessity, and can reduce his criminal liability. This is based on two legal maxims, just necessitates and necessitas non habet legum. It means that necessity knows no law. Essential ingredients of this section are: the act must be done under good faith and there must be no mens rea while doing the act. So there is a landmark case law, that is R versus Dudley and Stephens. So let's understand this case. There were four people: Dudley, Stephens, Brooks, cabin boy who was 18-year-old. These people were traveling from a ship. During the travel, the ship hits a huge rock and because of that they had to take a small boat and escape into the sea. After 20 days, जब पूरा खाना इनका ख़त्म हो गया, तब Dudley and Stephens killed 18-year-old cabin boy so that they can survive. After 4 days of this incident, a ship rescued them, and when they reached the port, they were tried for the murder of the boy. They pleaded the defense of necessity. But the court held that self-survival is not important, that you can kill a person. They were not exempted from the criminal liability. Let's look on to a great example. A, in a fire, pulls down houses in order to prevent the conflagration from spreading. सो उसने ये गुड फेथ से किए विद द इंटेंशन ऑफ सेविंग ह्यूमन लाइफ और प्रॉपर्टी. Hence, if it be found that harm to be prevented was of such a nature and so imminent as to excuse A's act, A is not guilty of the offence क्योंकि उसने ह्यूमन लाइफ बचाने के लिए कुछ घर तोड़ दिए. Now let us talk about sections 82 and 83 which talks about infancy. Section 82 talks about children below the age of 7 years. ये section बोलता है कि कोई भी act जो एक child ने किया है below the age of 7 years will not be said to be an offence, क्योंकि उनके पास कोई मेंटल मेच्योरिटी नहीं होती है कोई भी इंटेंट फॉर्मुलेट करने के लिए, ना ही उनके नेचर ऑफ एक्ट्स को समझने के लिए. ये सेक्शन रिलेटेड है एक मैक्सिम से, डॉली इन कैपेक्स, विच मीन्स इनकैपेबल ऑफ कमिटिंग एन ऑफेंस. अब हम बात करते हैं सेक्शन 83 की. Section 83 talks about the children between the age of 7 to 12 years but does not give total exemption, rather it gives certain exemption. Subject to maturity of mind. This will be observed by the court that the child had the mental maturity to formulate an intent and understand his nature of the acts. For example, अगर एक 10 साल का बच्चा घर से मोबाइल चोरी करता है और उसको जा कर के बाहर सेल कर देता है, then the child will be said to be mentally mature. He won't be given any exemption. Now let's move further and understand section 84 of Indian Penal Code, that is unsound mind. Unsound mind or insanity means a person of mental abnormality. So under this section, if any person commits a crime by reason of his insanity or unsound mind, he shall be exempted from criminal liability. Ingredients of this section are unsoundness, incapable of knowing the nature of the act, or incapable of knowing that the act is wrong or contrary to the law. For these exceptions to invoke, he must be insane during commission of the act. There is a case that is a really very popular case, Macnaghten case. Mr. Robert Peel, he was the then Prime Minister of England. Mr. Drummond, he was Secretary of the Prime Minister, and Daniel Macnaghten. Daniel Macnaghten murdered Mr. Drummond in this confusion that Mr. Drummond is Mr. Robert Peel. Insanity was pleaded by advocate of Macnaghten that he did not have control over his acts and due to delusion he committed this crime. In judgment 2, Macnaghten was acquitted on the ground of insanity. Now let us talk about sections 85 and 86 which deals with intoxication or drunkenness. It is believed that if a person is drunk or intoxicated, he is incapable of having mental element and hence he is not in a state to understand the nature of his acts. If the person is voluntarily intoxicated, it is presumed that he has a knowledge because he have consumed or intoxicated voluntarily and committed the crime, and hence he will be liable. And if intoxication is done involuntarily by force or fraud or without knowledge and you commit a crime, then you can use the defense of section 85 for exemption of criminal liability. Case laws for section 85 and 86 are Mirza Ghani Bag versus State of Andhra Pradesh. In this case, it was held that voluntary drunkenness is no excuse for commission of a crime. It was also held that prosecution has to prove that in spite of drunkenness, the accused had intention to commit the act forbidden by law, and sometimes the intention on part of the person who is drunk can also be assessed from the nature of weapon used in commission of the offense. If person does not uses a dangerous weapon for committing the offense and attack results in death, a malicious intention cannot be drawn against him even though drunkenness is no excuse. Now let us now move to sections 87 to 92 which deals with the consent. Section 87 deals with volenti non-fit injuria. So sorry for the spelling, it's VOLENTI, non-fit injuria. It means voluntary. If you give consent for a particular act, then you cannot take action against such act. For example, bungee jumping, boxing. The rules for this section to be invoked are the acts must be of legal nature. For example, gunfight, which is illegal. The objectives of these acts must not be to cause death of any person. Example for this section is A and Z agrees to fence with each other for amusement. This agreement implies that the consent of each to suffer any harm which in the course of such fencing may be caused without foul play, and if A while playing fairly hurts Z, A has committed no offense because there was consent between A and Z to fence with each other and play for amusement. Now let's move further and talk about section 88, which is acts done in good faith. And guys, I'm really very sorry for the spelling. This section grants immunity to doctors against surgical operations and the persons from punishment for the acts which did not intend to cause death, provided that the act must be done in good faith. For example, A is a surgeon knowing that a particular operation is likely to cause death of Z, who suffers under a painful complaint but not intending to cause Z's death and intending in good faith Z's benefit, performs that operation on Z with Z's consent. A has committed no offense. Now let's discuss the case Harpal Singh versus State of Himachal Pradesh. In this case, it was held that consent is a good defense to all offenses in general. But if once it is proved in a case of rape that the girl in question was below 16 years, her consent becomes wholly irrelevant and the accused is liable for the offense as if no consent was obtained. So now coming on to benefit of child or insane person by guardian's consent, that is section 89. This section says that acts which are done by consent of guardians for the benefit of child under 12 years of age or unsound mind in good faith are not considered as an offense, provided that this shall not extend to the act which the person knows to be intentional causing of death, knows likely to cause death, voluntary causing of grievous hurt and abatement of any offense. For example, A in good faith for his child benefit without the consent of his child has his child cut for the stone by a surgeon, knowing that it is likely that the operation may cause the child's death but not intending to cause the child's death. A is within this exception inasmuch as his object was the cure of his child. Now let's talk about what is not consent or consent given under fear or misconception, that is section 90. Consent under the Indian Contract Act is defined as an agreement of two or more persons upon the same thing in the same sense, that is consensus ad idem. If the consent is obtained by coercion, undue influence, fraud, misrepresentation or mistake, the contract is vitiated. Consent also plays an important role under the criminal law. This section says that the consent given under fear of injury or misconception of fact would not be regarded as a free consent. Also, consent given by the person of unsoundness of mind or child below the age of 12 years won't be regarded as consent. Now let's talk about state of Uttar Pradesh versus Naushad. If consent is given by the prosecutrix under a misconception of fact, it is vitiated. Accused committed sexual intercourse with the prosecutrix by giving false assurance that he would marry her. After she got pregnant, he refused to do so. From this, it is evident that he never intended to marry her and procured her consent only for the reason of having sexual relationship with her, which act of accused falls under the definition of rape, as he had sexual intercourse with her consent, which was consent obtained under a misconception of fact as defined under section 90 of the Indian Penal Code. Now coming on to section 91 of this Indian Penal Code, it says about the exclusion of certain acts. This section states that exceptions in sections 87, 88 and 89 does not extend to acts which are offences independently of any harm which may be caused to the person giving consent or on whose behalf consent is to be given. For example, causing miscarriage, unless caused in good faith for the purpose of saving life of woman, is an offence independently of any harm which it may cause or be intended to cause to the woman. Therefore, it is not an offence by reason of such harm, and the consent of woman of her guardian to the causing of such miscarriage does not justify the act, and hence miscarriage which is done in bad faith is an offence. Section 92 of Indian Penal Code talks about act done in good faith for benefit of a person without consent. This section says that if an act is performed with good faith for benefit of a person without the consent of that person, will not be considered as an offence, provided that this exception shall not extend to the acts where there is intentional causing of death, where it knows that such act will cause death, where voluntary causing of hurt is done, and abatement of any offence. And now this section presumes the implied consent of the party in question. Implied consent under this section may be when it is impossible to obtain consent because the person is incapable to give consent. This was the first instance. Now second instance says that has no guardian to obtain his consent for the thing to be done in the benefit. Mere pecuniary benefit is not benefit within the meaning of sections 88, 89 and 92. For example, Z is thrown from his horse and is insensible. A is a surgeon. He finds that Z requires to be trepanned. A, not intending to cause Z's death but in good faith for his benefit, performs the trepan before Z, so that he recovers his power of judging for himself. A has committed no offence. Let's look on to another example. A is a surgeon. He sees a child suffer an accident which is likely to prove fatal unless an operation is immediately performed, and there is no time to apply to the child's guardian. So A performs the operation in spite of the entreaties of the child, intending in good faith for the child's benefit. A has committed no offence. Now let's talk about section 93, which speaks about communication. This section says that if communication is made in good faith, it is not an offence by reason of any harm to the person to whom it is made, if that communication is made for benefit of that person. For example, A is a surgeon and in good faith he communicates to his patient that he is of opinion that he cannot live further. The patient dies in consequence of the shock. A has committed no offence, though he knew it would likely kill the patient, but it was communication which was made in good faith. Now let's come to section 94, that is duress. This section takes away the criminal liability for the act done by any person under duress. The maxim related to this section is actus ne invito factus est nisi actus. It means that an act which is done by me against my will is not my act, and hence I am not responsible for that act. The explanation of this section talks about two exceptions, that is murder and waging war against the government of India, which is punishable with death. The essential ingredients for this section to invoke is the apprehension of threat must be reasonable and not voluntary. The threat must be of instant death at the time of doing the act, and accused was left with no option but to act against the threat. The threat must be confined to person himself, and there must be presence of threatener. Now coming on to the last part of this video, that is section 95, which talks about trifle acts. This section intends to prevent prosecution of negligible wrongs or acts of trivial nature. The maxim related to this section is de minimis non curat lax. It means that law does not concern itself with the trifles. An example could be theft to dip a pen in another man's ink, take a sheet of paper from another's drawer. So these are those petty offenses which does not require the concern of the courts, and hence law will not take the notice of such acts. So this was all about part 1 of general exceptions of Indian Penal Code, that is from section 76 to section 95. We will discuss the second part in another video. Thank you so much for your patience to listen throughout the video, and please check the description box below for the detailed notes. Thank you so much.